This is MTM Broadcasting, your classic Christian station.
Hi, I'm Carrie, and I want to invite you to the Wagon Wheel Family Restaurant at 20262 US 160 Forsyth. While you're with us, you might enjoy our daily specials, perhaps the salad buffet, and we can't forget about the amazing baked desserts, like peach pie and Oreo cookie cinnamon rolls, just to name a few. Or call us at 417-546-3266 to take dinner home. Either way, we'll see you at the wheel.
And now, it's time for the Well-Read Llama with your host, author Erin Mifflin.
Hello, listeners. Are you starting to get into the holiday mood? Thanksgiving is coming soon. I've been enjoying sharing some of these holiday stories with you, and here we have another guest today to talk about her Christmas stories. Our guest today is USA Today bestselling author Jaycee Weaver. Jaycee lives in New Mexico, and she set many of her books in the southwestern United States to celebrate their unique culture. She's written several Christmas stories, and she's going to tell us all about them in just a minute. Don't forget to hop over to Facebook or Instagram to follow me at author Erin Mifflin to keep up with my latest news and catch the replays for any author interviews you have missed. Now let's get into today's interview. Hi, Jaycee. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We're here today to talk about your Christmas stories and some of your other works, but before we get started, what are 3 things you love about Christmas?
Oh, gosh. Mostly I love catching up with family that we haven't seen in a long time. I love baking and making candy, and I love the traditions that my family has created for ourselves.
That sounds lovely. Do you have a favorite tradition?
One that I really love, actually, is on Christmas Eve. We take the kids to a dinner that we wouldn't normally splurge on. And then we'll come home, put on our pajamas, and grab cocoa or coffee or whatever. All of us pile in the car, and then we'll go look at Christmas lights.
Oh, that does sound fun.
It is nice. We have a really big family, extended family in town. And so when the kids were young, we just needed to carve out some time that was just for us, without really needing to feel like, oh, we've got to go here, we've got to go there, and we've got to go here and there. So,
how many Christmas stories have you written?
I just counted it up, and I am now at 10.
Oh, wow. That's fun. What's your favorite thing about writing them?
I think I just love the fun and the complexities of the season. I love for how the holidays make for really great situations to draw from that readers can really identify with, whether you have an amazing family or a not so amazing family. You know, when there's heartache or there's joy, like any way that you can blend and juxtapose those complicated parts of the season, it just creates for some really interesting scenarios that I think anybody can really relate to.
That's true. Yeah, because you have some of the harder situations, and then you also have the joy.
Yeah.
Then you can hopefully find a way to blend them together.
Absolutely.
I really love your Sinclair Sisters series. Can you tell us about this Christmas-obsessed family and their tradition that happens every December 23rd?
So they call it Christmas Eve, and I know I've heard a lot of people say they call it Christmas Adam, which is funny, but I actually did not hear about that until after I'd already established the Christmas Eve for them. And I kind of like it that it's unique to them. And so I haven't actually written the Sinclair parents story yet. I kind of want to go back eventually and do a prequel. I think that would be a lot of fun, just to really understand where all of this love for Christmas came from. I kind of touch on it on my newest book, Cooking Up Christmas, which is a related book to the Sinclair sisters, just as an observation from the outside, where Bristol kind of gets an idea just by watching the family and seeing how they're so in love with each other, how Cole and Amy are so in love with each other after 40 years, and just seeing the way that they've established these traditions. She kind of hypothesizes like why it is that they love Christmas so much. But I would really love to identify it more specifically from a first-hand account. And so, you know, mostly what we see in the 3 original novellas is that this crazy family, these parents, are so obsessed with Christmas. It's Christmas everywhere. Starting in like September, they've got the house full. And really, every season, they find some way to Christmasify it. So even 4th of July, they've got a big blow-up thing outside of their house that you can't really tell. Is it Uncle Sam or is it Santa dressed as Uncle Sam? And so I love the idea that they're just so into it that they want to share the joy of Christmas and the joy that they get with everybody. And it's kind of humiliating for the kids, of course, because as they're growing up, they're having to wear wild outfits and and they don't really have a choice until much, much later when they're adult. So it's kind of a thing like, do they love it? Do they hate it? Do they kind of love it and kind of hate it? I think each sister responds a little differently into how she feels about it as well.
Right, and each of the sisters has a Christmas-themed name.
Yeah, so they all start with the letter C, and all of them are in honor of a Christmas movie character. So we start out the very first book. The heroine is Clarice, of course, named for Rudolph's girlfriend. And then we have, in Now and Forever Christmas, we have CJ, but her real name is Charlie, and of course, Charlie Brown. And then we have the third sister is Cindy Lou, and that's obviously after The Who.
Yes, that is so fun. And it's funny, like you said, to see the way that different girls respond even to their name, Charlie going by CJ and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. And it's funny because the one sister that has the most obnoxious name is the one that really doesn't change it too terribly much. So I don't know, it's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. I just really enjoyed it. I love that they all go up to the Appelbaum farm, which is an absolutely fictional place, but I really wanted to create a tree farm that still had a little bit of New Mexico flavor, but then also like that Bavarian feel of the Christmas season with the Christmas markets and stuff like that.
Right, and I think all of us who have read the books wish that it was a real place because it sounds amazing.
I kind of do too, honestly.
Yeah.
I really do wish that it was real.
So your new book that you mentioned, Cooking Up Christmas, how is it connected with the series?
So in the second book, Now and Forever Christmas, CJ is coming back. She's staying with her sister, actually, and so she's just trying to get a second chance after a long heartache. And there had been some drama with a boyfriend/boss figure in her past, and so she's kind of running from that. And in the course of her story, we meet a chef who has his own backstory that turns out it's kind of related. They both know the same guy and had a bad experience with the same guy, so that kind of opens the door for her to re-enter the world of cooking. So she had been trained as a chef, but she kind of couldn't anymore after the drama with this guy. And so Ramsey kind of takes her in and gives her a second chance. It's on a night where he absolutely needs a rescue. Everything has gone haywire, and it's just an opportunity for her to jump in and help out and kind of rediscover her love for cooking. And then that leads, of course, to Ramsey. I was writing him into her story, and it was like, oh my gosh, I really love this guy. I think he's going to need his own book.
Yes.
And so I wanted to give him a chance. And then once I started revisiting what I had written before, it was so much fun to discover, oh gosh, what if when the night that CJ helps him out because he's desperately in need of a rescue, what if that's like not the first time he's needed a rescue? What if he has this habit of getting into scrapes and people need to bail him out because really embarrassing things happen to him all the time?
Well, that would be interesting, huh? Open the door for some unique storylines.
Yes.
And you just had another Christmas book that released on its own that was part of a collection. So that's called Can't Fight the Mistletoe, and it's a romantic comedy. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. It's a romantic comedy between adversaries. It's kind of a loathe to love situation. And I love it because there's just lots of room for laughs. Alessia is very much me in so many ways, but not also. Mm-hmm. Mostly how her brain operates. So I kind of enjoyed being able to lean into that and then also make her kind of cranky, which is definitely not me. And so kind of a reverse Grumpy Sunshine where she's the grump and he's an absolute sunshine bit of wonderfulness. And then, set in a senior retirement community. I really loved exploring that and seeing how all of the different dynamics with the different age groups and everything worked out. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that would be a good place to set something. You get a lot of interesting storylines that would crop up that way.
Yes, absolutely. And then Dan has just a wonderful family. And I've written so many families that were not wonderful into people's backstories that it was really kind of fun to be able to write a good family and give him some sisters that have really strong personalities. And then, at some point, I'm looking forward to telling their stories as well.
That's definitely something to look forward to. So you've written quite a few different genres. So some romance and some women's fiction and even some fairy tale retellings. Do you have a favorite from those, or do you just enjoy writing all of them?
I mean, I really do enjoy writing the different genres because my ADHD brain just definitely needs variety. But I think rom-com actually is my favorite. My brain tends to be a little over the top anyway. I love pushing boundaries. And so rom-com is a really great outlet for that. It's kind of expected that, the sillier the better. Things that are outlandish and we would never expect or accept as a reader in, like in Christian fiction. I can push those boundaries in rom-com because we expect that it's going to be a silly escape. It's going to be fun. Some of it's going to be outlandish. And so the ability to accept that as a reader is a little bit more fun. And so being able to do that as a writer is also a little bit more fun.
I like how you phrased that. I was reading a post in the Avid Readers of Christian Fiction group recently, and they were talking about what do readers look for in a rom-com, and generally it was just that laugh out loud moment where you've got the craziness going on and just something a little extra, like you said, that you're not going to find in other, I don't want to say more normal stories, but you know what I mean.
Right, absolutely. And that's not to say we can't have humor in women's fiction or in Christian romance or other forms of fiction. We obviously can, and I do love to write humor, but there's something about the outlandishness of rom-com, and you can really play into the tropes, and you can really mix up those tropes and turn them on their heads. That keeps it from being the same old, same old.
Now let's talk about your classic fairy tale retellings, and I actually haven't read any of these, so which fairy tales do you cover?
So A Splash of Love is based off of The Little Mermaid, and then Unkissable is a retelling of The Frog Prince. And I still haven't decided on the third for the sister in the family, but I'm going to get there eventually.
Yes.
But yeah, I had a really good time with the fairy tale retelling. It was interesting to be able to take a classic story and then put it into modern day relatability, I guess.
Yeah, and I would be especially interested in The Little Mermaid because, that I would think would be a little bit harder to bring over.
Absolutely. So, you kind of do have to have a little bit of fish out of water. But at the same time, there's the not so literal aspect because having an actual mermaid in a contemporary setting is not so easy to do. So instead, I grew up in Henderson, just outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. And so, in the casinos, there's one casino actually that has a Bass Pro Shops. And inside of there, they have mermaids that are in the tank, and we went to visit several years ago when my kids were little, and they were just so enthralled seeing these mermaids swimming through the tank, and then the mermaids would swim up to the glass and interact with the kids, and then they would kind of interact with each other, and it was just this whole thing. And so it was really fun, and I thought, what if there is a woman who is playing this mermaid, and yet she's just so sick of the job, and she just can't wait to walk on land, basically, and find a real job that she really wants, and then how would that play out?
Okay, that is very interesting. What are some of your hobbies besides writing?
Well, again, ADHD means that I have a hobby graveyard. So my office is probably at least half storage for all of the hobbies that have been part of my life at some time or another. I've got candle making supplies and paper crafting and scrapbooking and sewing, and I don't even know how many others, honestly. I just really love to stay busy. I love to keep my hands busy. I'd still love to work on little random projects. Like I'm making a new updated tree skirt for Christmas this year. I really love, if there's something out there that I can be creative with, I'm probably going to try it.
Yes, my sister-in-law has ADHD, and she has all kinds of crafting tools. She loves to do things like that, too. And you never know what she's going to do next. So I've seen a little bit of that in action. And it's a very good trait, too. She can do all kinds of things, with her hands, stuff that I would never even attempt. But she doesn't have, I don't know, I guess, I might just have like the inhibition, like, what if I mess up? And she's just like, well, we're going to do it, and it's going to be great.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
God made all of our brains, and they are all beautiful, and they all, reflect Him, your ability to be in there with those creative projects. And He, of course, is the ultimate creator. So He's gifted you in that way, and not just in writing, but in other things, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's been really fun.
Is there a scripture that has been meaningful to you recently?
Yes, actually. So, I don't know. I love to read a lot of scripture, and there are a ton of verses that really mean a lot to me. But in the last few years, things have been so hectic and so difficult, not only for me, but for so many people that I know and care about. And so, it was funny. I was reading Daniel a while back, and I had read the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego a million times. And yet, I don't think I ever quite fully caught the two words at the beginning of Daniel 3:18. And so it's right before they're getting ready to be thrown into the furnace. And they're telling off Nebuchadnezzar and basically saying, if we're thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it. He will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know that we will not serve your gods or worship the image you've made. And I love those two words, even if. And so I just lately have been really clinging to Daniel 3:18 because that even if just serves as such a reminder that we're not promised life will be easy, but we press on. Even if he doesn't choose to answer our prayers the way we think they ought to be answered, he's still God and he's still worthy of our worship.
Yes. And I like how the focus is, even if he's still getting the victory because they're refusing to bow down. So like it says, he is going to get the victory whether by saving us or if he so chooses, allowing us to perish, but we're still going to lift up his name.
Exactly.
That's really good. Now, what is your absolute favorite thing about being a writer?
Honestly, I don't have just one favorite thing. But favorites are hard.
Yeah.
Favorites are really, really, really hard. I don't even have like a favorite specific color. I have a favorite color family. Let me see. The favorite thing about being a writer, probably the fact that I have an outlet to get the stories and characters that yammer in my head out and onto paper.
Yes, that is good.
Or onto a screen, I guess.
Right. When they're talking with you while you're driving down the road or when you're trying to go to sleep. Yeah.
Yes, it's just in there. It's the constant buzz and the constant thinking and the constant stuff. So having an outlet to actually let it out is very fun.
Yes. And I know you enjoy connecting with readers as well. So how can readers connect with you online?
My favorite way to connect with readers is through my newsletter. And that's at jayceeweaver.com/newsletter. And that's just when readers join my email community, yes, they're going to get updates on sales and, what's new and what's happening in my life. But then at the same time, I always invite readers to respond back. And it is so much fun when readers do reply to my emails and they tell me what's going on in their lives or they give me prayer requests. Being able to personally connect with readers is just the best. And I find that it's easier there than anywhere else because, yes, I'm on Facebook, but I don't love Facebook. Mm-hmm. I tend to get on and do my business and then get off. So it's a lot more fun to be personal and interact one-on-one.
Yeah, that is a great way to be in contact with them. And do you have anything special for your newsletter subscribers? Like if they sign up, do you have any bonuses for them?
Yes. So right now I have a free book. It's called Just Say Yes. It is kind of hard to put a genre on it because it's kind of, I guess, women's fiction-ish since it's only told through the two leading heroines, but each of them has a romantic storyline with their potential partner. And so then it's kind of a friendship story, but also kind of two sub-romances. And it's a mess, but it's fun, and I love it.
Readers can hop on over there and find that at jayceeweaver.com to catch up with your news and find out about your stories and get this free book.
Yes.
Well, it is lovely to have you here today, and I hope that you will see some readers coming to check out your stories.
Thank you. That would be amazing.
Listeners, do you have any favorite Christmas stories? I gave you some of my favorites last week, and listed among those were some of Jaycee's books. So if you missed them, let me know, and I can give you the list again. But I'd also love to hear from you. Do you have any suggestions for me? I enjoy everything from classic literature like Dickens to contemporary stories and everything in between. And like I said, I'd never read Jaycee's fairy tale retellings before, but the one about the Little Mermaid does sound very intriguing, so I might have to look into that. There's some other fairy tale retellings out there. Some ones for young adults would be Melanie Dickerson, and then recently Karen Whittemire has been putting out some for adults, and hers are set in West Texas, and so they're like westerns. So she's taken some of these fairy tales that we're all familiar with and set them in the Old West. So the first one's called If the Boot Fits. Instead of a glass slipper, there is a boot that gets left behind, and we have to find the hero who will fit the boot. So there's so many different things in Christian fiction that you can find, everything from some of these Christmas stories that we're talking about to the rom-coms to the fairy tale retellings, and then also some of the more serious reads that we've talked about as well. There's so much there that we can look into. And we're so blessed with a wealth of stories here in Christian fiction. And that is one thing that I hope to do with this radio program is help promote all different kinds of Christian fiction so that no matter what you like to listen to, you can find it out there. So please go check out jcweaver.com to sign up for Jaycee's newsletter. And then also, I would love it if you would sign up for my newsletter. If you would like to follow my author journey, you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram at author Erin Mifflin. And you can sign up for my newsletter at authorerinmifflin.com. I would just love to have you along for the journey. I hope that newsletter would be a blessing to you. So until next time, happy reading.
Join us next week for another episode of The Well-Read Llama with your host, author Erin Mifflin. If you'd like to find out more about author Erin Mifflin, visit her Facebook and Instagram accounts.